Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 16, section 16. We've gone through so many videos, and finally, we've gotten to day 4. You notice that my glasses are on this time, so I hope you don't have too much glare. But the reason why is because we're going to do the actual writing tonight. We're going to go to the almost last stage, almost the final part, and we're going to actually write it. Now, before I go any farther, I kind of felt guilty a little bit because I thought, you know what? I've been telling these young people that if they just follow what I tell them, that they'll be able to write these big essays in about 20 minutes, just really fast. And I'm encouraging you to do that. I'm telling you, yes, you can do that. But I know that some of you are at home going, Mr. Wilson, you're old. You got that gray stuff. You've been around a while. You're a teacher. Of course, you can write it in 20 minutes. But I'm just a little kid and I don't think I can write it. Well, I thought, you know what? That's a very good, very valid argument. You're being persuasive. So I thought to myself, do you know what? Rather than spending all my time off camera getting ready to type this, to bring this together, I thought, what if I do like I do in my classrooms when I hold these, writing boot camps over the summer? What if I actually sit down and you watch me write it? And you can follow along. You can kind of like get inside my head a little bit inside and go, okay, what is he thinking? Why is he writing that? What is the thinking process that he's going through as he's typing all this stuff up? And maybe if I can be just a little bit like his thinking, maybe that I can do the same thing on the test. Well, I think that's a great idea. So that's what I want to do. I want to actually sit down and type it in front of you, okay? So this first part of the video, this is like session 16A, part 1, okay? I want to kind of set this up, refresh your memory of what we're going to be doing and what kind of essay this is going to be. And then we're going to sit down and I'm going to type it in front of your face. How's that? Sound like a deal? All right, then that's what I want to do. So let's go, without any further ado, let's go into session 16, writing your essay. This is day 4. We're going to look today at the informative essay. I'm going to teach you. I'm writing and I'm going to teach you. If you're writing, you're going to teach and inform me, okay? So if you go to the practice tests, the CAASPP Practice Test, you can go under grade 4. This is what we've been using a lot for most of these videos. You can go under that and you can follow along. And I'm going to bounce back and forth. I got some serious technology lined up tonight. And so I got like 3 computers going and a little switcher thing. And I don't know anything about any of this stuff. I'm not a professional at this, but I'm thinking that we can go ahead and we can try to do this. So first, let's take a look at what the prompt, what is the question, what are the directions, what are we supposed to be doing in the informative essay for grade 4. So let's take a look at that. So here is the grade 4 picture. And I'm going to take myself off so that you can have a better spot of this. You can see it a little bit better, okay? So this is the part 2. We had the part 1 where you had the little short question and then you answered in the paragraph and then you had answered little check boxes. Well, you're done with that. You've clicked the next button. That's this one up here. That's the next because you finished the other one. You cannot go to this second part until you finish the first part. So you do that, and when you do that, it looks like this. This is how it opens up. It looks like that. You have the reading part on the right, left-hand side, and then you have the essay part on the right-hand side. So let me close that off again. Remember, you can make each side bigger or smaller. So let's take a look at this one. Is all about, up at the top it says animals and their surroundings, informational performance tasks. Ooh, that tells me a whole lot already. It tells me this is about animals and their surroundings, kind of like what we read about their houses and where they live and how that helps them survive. And we hear here that it is an informational, informative, it's giving me information performance task. That's an informative essay, okay? So what does it say? It says you will now review your notes and sources and plan, draft, revise, and edit your writing. What does all that mean? It means you're going to look at what you wrote on day 3 on your outline. You're going to take a look at the highlights that you saved in the reading from day 2, and you're going to kind of come up with an idea of what your final paper's write, and you're going to write it. That's what this is all about. That's all it's saying. Let's keep on going. It says you will use your notes and go back to the sources. Duh. Now read your assignment and the information about how your writing will be scored. Then begin your work. So it's telling you, here are some things in this assignment, in this writing, that they're going to score you on. So remember way back in the first part, very first video, I told you that there are going to be several things that they're going to be looking for. Well, here are specific things they're going to look for. They list them for you. So let's take a look at what it says. It says your assignment. We're looking for setting, action, and the type. We know it's the type already because that's the informational essay. So here we go. What's the setting? The setting is your teacher wants each student to write an informational article that will be displayed with your science fair project. Aha! I know what that was. I did that in I think in 6th grade or something like that. We had a big science fair, and I had this board behind me with all of my, amoebas and whatever it was that I was doing for my science deal. And then I stood in front and I got to tell people all about it. So they just want you to write a little report on it. That's all they're going to do. And so let's keep going. What does it say? It says, let's see, where are we going? It says you decide to write about animals and where they live. Your article will be read by other students, teachers, and parents. That's pretty easy. That's the setting. And we're going to, what is our topic? We're writing about animals and where they live. Okay, so let's keep going. It says right here, it says using more than one source, develop a main idea about animals and their surroundings. Okay, so I have 3 sources in this one in grade 4 in the reading, source 1, 2, and 3. I need to use at least 2 of them in my writing. Okay. It says choose the most important information from more than one source to support your main idea. So I have to have a main idea. What do you think the main idea is? You're right. It's your thesis statement. It's that spine. Remember the spine that we talked about? You want everything to point back to that spine. That's your main idea. That's what the paper's all about. So, do you have a spine? Yep, you do. We did it on the last day, the last time when we did outlining. So we're good. We're good to go. What else? It says, then write an informational article about your main idea that is several paragraphs long. We're going to make it 5. Clearly organize your article and support your main idea with details from your sources. Okay, well, we already talked about that, and I will show you again what that's going to look like back when we look at our outline, because I kept a copy of our outline. And you should have kept a copy of your outline, and it should be sitting on your desk somewhere so you can take a look at it, okay? So let's see. Clearly organize your article and support your main idea with details from the sources. Use your own words, except when quoting directly from the sources. Be sure to give the source title or number when using details from the sources. Okay, so for this one, I can just write source 1 or source 2 or source 3. I don't have to write the whole title or the author's name or anything like that. Whew, that makes it easy. That makes it so much easier. Okay, so we know what we're doing. Let's take a look at, well, what needs to be in there. Well, it says you must have a clear idea, clear main idea. We got that because we have the thesis statement. We need a well-organized, your paper's well-organized and stays on topic. Well, remember what I said. If it doesn't come under the umbrella of the thesis statement, if it doesn't it's not part of that thesis statement, you don't talk about it, right? So that's what helps you stay on topic, is that you only talk what's in that big thesis, that spine statement at the beginning. What else? You have an introduction and conclusion. That's easy. We already have that on our outline. We have an introduction and a conclusion. They're kind of like the bread on a sandwich, the top and the bottom. You have an introduction, that's the top bread, and you got the bottom bread, that's the conclusion. So we got that. We know what that's about. It then says use transitions. Now, what in the world does transitions mean? It means moving from one place to another or one point in time to another. It shows change or a shift. That's transition. Things like transitions might be something like these. First, blah, 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 blah. Second, blah, 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 blah. Third, blah, 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 blah. So first, second, third, those are transition words. You might kind of stretch it out a little bit. One example is blah, 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 blah. Another example is blah, 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 blah. The finally, the last example is blah, 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 blah. So you see how it one kind of moves into the next one. And that's what we'll do. We'll do that when we type this up, okay? So that's transition. You use details from the sources to support your main idea. We already talked about that. We know we're going to do that. Puts the information from the sources in your own words. That means you have to summarize it. You have to say it like you would be teaching somebody, like you're teaching your little brother or your little sister or something. That's usually a good way. If you can take what's in the reading and explain it to someone who's younger, that's usually a good indicator. That's a good practice. That's a good summary. So keep it simple. Just let me know what's in the article when you write it. Now, it does say, except when using direct quotations. And I'm not going to make you your younger students, worry about direct quotations. That's literally word for word from the article. The author, let's see, what kind of author was. So the author, Donna Haynes, said or wrote in her article, quote, animals live, blah, 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 and whatever, end quote. Well, maybe for more of your advanced students, your 7th, 8th graders, maybe your 6th graders, maybe you're definitely your 8th graders, using short, direct quotes like that, exact word for word, that's good. But for you who are a little bit, kind of starting out, summarizing, saying things in your own words is usually best. So unless the direct quote, unless the actual word for word from the article is super important, then I would say just summarize. Okay? That's my suggestion to you. Okay, what else is here? It says give the title and number of number of the source for the details or facts you include. We already talked about that. We're going to either use source 1, source 2, source 3 this time. Your paper develops ideas clearly, so it has to make sense. That's all that means. Uses clear language. Yep, you got to use language that makes sense. Don't try to sound too super educated if don't try to use fancy words if you don't know the fancy words. And you follow the rules of writing. What does that mean? Well, that means there shouldn't be any spelling errors, no punctuation errors. All your capitals should be capitalized that are supposed to be capitalized, and your sentences should be constructed properly. All the grammar and things like that. Now, some of you, I know you're still learning all that stuff, but it's okay. Let's say you're writing this and the paper is really good organized. Is well organized. You have a clear idea because you have a very clear, specific spine for this paper. It's a good idea. You've broken it down the way you're supposed to. But let's say, even though you did all that, you got a couple spelling mistakes. Maybe you missed a punctuation or something like that. You know what? It's not going to matter that much. If you've done everything else, and you've done everything else well, which I think you can, then a couple mistakes here and there is not going to ruin your score. Not at all. Believe me, okay? So don't get all anxious or worried about spelling or grammar. Just when we come back on day 5 and you're doing the review, you're checking your paper before you hit submit and you're done. You want to just look at your paper and see if you can find any errors, any spelling errors, things like that. and then you fix them, and then you're ready to submit, okay? But for now, we just want the writing on the paper. We just want it, boom. We can fix it, polish it, change it up later, and make it all pretty. But for now, these are the rules. These are the things that they're looking for. So let's go back, if we may, to your actual outline. So here's the outline that we put together. Now, I have to change something on here. And that is when I went back in to do my outlining, I'm kind of reviewing my outline and I'm looking at the original sources, source 1, 2, and 3. I found out that my sentence on body number 3, see that down there? It says, hedgehogs dig burrows underground to survive. Guess what? Hedgehogs are not in any of the articles. None of them. It's wombats. It's wombats. So if I go back to here, boom, and I'm going to stretch that puppy. I want just the reading. If I go back all the way to reading, all the way to reading, all the way to reading, all the way to go all the way down, now it's number 2. What is that? I don't know why I called that thing a wombat or a hedgehog. I have no idea. Maybe it's because the 4th and 5th graders are doing papers in the classroom on hedgehogs. I don't know, but I can't use hedgehogs in body number 3 because it's not in the reading. So I had to go back into the reading again and kind of scratch my head and go, but I'm almost positive I read something about something that burrows underground. Burrows underground. So let's go back and let me see if I can show you what I found. So where was that? Burrows underground. That was in source number 1. Source number 1. It's a cold, hot, dry, dark, cruel world. Now, I'm looking down, I'm looking at, ta-da, look at this right here. Look at this. You see that right there? See that? It says snakes, lizards, mice, and squirrels. I could use any of those to talk about what I want to talk about. And still, it's the right point. It still burrows underground, and it's there to survive. It's there to hide and get away from the heat. So let me go back to my outline, and I'm going to change this to squirrels. Squirrels dig burrows underground to survive. And I will use squirrels as my example rather than hedgehogs because hedgehogs wasn't in the paper. So can I go back and change my outline? Yes, absolutely. Maybe you did your outline on day 3, went home, went to sleep, had a dream, and you realized, there's no hedgehogs in any of my reading. I need to change that. So you get up the next day and on your little piece of paper, your outline the scratch paper, you scratch it out and you just write squirrels and you write, where is that source? Okay. So other than that, I think I have pretty much everything. I can go in and I can look at, well, where do we talk about things like animals live in special places to survive? Well, I know that is in source number 1. So I can put that right there. Even in my thesis statement, I can put that there. How about eagles live in nests high in the trees to survive? I need a source, right? I need to put my source down here. That is source number 2. That's source number 2. I can even put the author's name. The author's name is Donna Hennes. So I can even write down on my scratch paper that. What about beavers? Where do we find beavers? Well, guess what? That's also in number 2. And I don't put the author's name twice. I know who the author was already. What about squirrels? Well, we know squirrels is in source number 1. We just saw that. And that author's name is Dawn, and I think you pronounce it Bertlein or Bertlein. So that's her name, Dawn Bertlein. So And I may use the author's name, I may not. It depends on what I want to do. Because all I have to do, or according to the paper, is to include source number. Okay, so let me go back. Let me go back to, oh, my bad. I am sorry. Let me go over here. I didn't hit that right. So here's where I put source 1. That was from the article. The one about eagles, that was from source 2, and the author's name is Donna Hennies. The beavers, I know that was also in source number 2. And like I said, I changed hedgehogs to squirrels because in source 1 by Dawn Bertline, we saw that squirrels were one of the things that she talks about that burrows underground. So that will be my outline. That is what I'm going to use. So with that in place, I'm going to go back to my outline again in our next video, and I want to look at how do we piece this together. Okay, so in our next one, we're going to look at not 17. Man, see what happens when you don't prepare ahead of time? All right, so let me get rid of that. That's not true. Let me go back. So what we're going to do in session 17, we're going to look at the actual typing. And that will be, hopefully, we'll be able to get that within about 15 minutes. I'm looking, so your next one, let's see if we can do it in 15 minutes. Not 20, 15 minutes. Don't know. I haven't tried it yet, but I think we can do it. Okay? So see you in a little bit.